Thanks. Good evening. We'll call the City of Hawarden City Council to order on Wednesday, September the 28th, 2016 at 5:30 p.m. All present are staff council other than Attorney Jim Pickner and Mike DeBryan on vacation. As you see on the agenda items, if you wish to address the community and open business from the community is agenda item number 1C. We will remind those in public here that we videotape our council meeting minutes and our sessions, and they will be on our local access channel. Some of you will be presenting to the council under other agenda items, and we thank you for your presence here tonight. First standard agenda item is the approval of the September 14th, 2016 City Council meeting minutes. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Travis. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Tim. Questions or clarifications? Hearing none, all in favor then of the September 14th, 2016 City Council meeting minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It passes 5-0. Next is approval of claims for the 28th of September. We'll start to my left. John, any questions for claims?
No questions, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Payne, questions?
None, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Tim? Travis?
None, thank you.
Monty, any questions? No. Hearing no questions, I'd entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Moved by Tim. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by John. Sound alike. All in favor then of claims for payment, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none, that passes 5-0. Next agenda item is agenda item number 1C, open business from the community.
Good afternoon. My name is Jeff Vandwerf. I'm running for the House District 4 State Representative post. I spoke with Mayor Porter, talked to Rick yesterday, and he informed me that this would probably be the best time to introduce myself to the council at the open comments before one of your meetings. I had actually the opportunity to address the Kiwanis Club up in Rock Valley today. Now, my prepared remarks with them ran about 15 minutes, but I understand I only have about 5 here, so I'll just make a few take a few minutes to highlight a couple things. The first thing I guess I would just want to share is that one of the reasons that I'm still running, some of you might recall last spring in the primary election, I kind of like to, well, I characterize it as I finished third. I guess that's the same as finishing last, okay? So some people have kind of wondered, well, why are you still running? Several of both my supporters and Kevin Van Otterloo's supporters were concerned that he and I might split a fair amount of the vote, and that kind of was the scenario that played itself out, and so our nominee, by virtue of the primary, did win with just a plurality. And several people over the course of the summer encouraged me to get the necessary petition signatures to get my name on the ballot as an unaffiliated candidate. So it's a little unusual, but it is just as common, or maybe not as common, but just as legitimate a route onto the ballot. About 110 folks, and over again, as I was lining up some of those signatures this past August, there was just this sense of, yeah, we really should have a choice. You know, we really should have a choice. So I'll say more in just a moment about a couple issues that I think I'm primarily concerned about, and then maybe a few issues or a few things as to why I think, well, that recommend my candidacy. But first, just a little background. My wife Kara and I have made our home in Orange City now for just about 18 or 19 years. I came out to attend Northwestern College back in the fall of 1979, and essentially never left. We have 4 kids. Our oldest, Jake, is a sophomore at MOC Floyd Valley, and we have a daughter, Kate, that's in her middle year of middle school, and then we I guess God kind of has a sense of humor. I wasn't so sure if we should have another kid. I'm a little older in terms of when I got married and when we first had kids, but my wife persuaded me that we should have a third. I kind of warmed to that idea, and then we had twins. So we have twin 4th graders, Ian and Ellen. Yeah, I've been tied in at Northwestern. Not only was I a student, but then I was a staff member for 7 years upon my graduation. We were out of the area for about a decade, and then after I'd worked on my degree, the college hired me back as a faculty member, so I've been a student, staff, and faculty member. Just finished my 17th year as a teacher at Northwestern. I teach American government and public policy. I've had lots of opportunities over the years at Northwestern to take on some leadership roles. I've very much appreciated the opportunity to teach at Northwestern. It's a great place. It's one of 3 institutions of higher education in Sioux County that we're blessed with. As far as issues, obviously, given my background in education, that would be an area that I would be interested in. Actually, 6 out of every $10 for the state budget goes to education, whether it's K through 12 or with the regents or private colleges. I think it's an area that we should spend some time on, give attention to, make sure we're getting the bang for our buck. Economic development definitely matters. Just went to the Northwest Iowa 6-county party meeting last week, and clearly there are good things happening as we partner, as we kind of realize progress through cooperation here in Northwest Iowa, in particular in Sioux County. Ag is a big deal, obviously, in Sioux County. Not even just with the traditional corn and soybeans, but a lot of the livestock agriculture, and even the Siouxland Energy Cooperative that operates just west of Sioux Center in terms of their ethanol and biodiesel production. That needs to be encouraged. I think one of the issues, I mean, social issues matter, but I don't know if that's really as much of a role for a state legislator. Many of those issues have been kind of taken out of our hands by the national government or the Supreme Court. So I think we should focus on these issues of education, economic development, ag. Perfect case in point. I met with the Sioux County Sportsman's Club a couple weeks ago, and much as I suspected, while I'm fully in support of anybody's Second Amendment rights, their ability to keep and bear arms, those members are every bit as concerned about water quality, access to public lands, marginal grounds, habitat, wildlife. I think we need to be concerned about those things. So let me just wrap up with this, and then I'm more than happy to answer any questions. Why me? I think with Kevin Van Otterloo out of the race, and I'm happy to say that Kevin is supporting my bid. That was one thing I needed to clarify after getting the approval from my wife to take this little crazy jump. I had to see if Kevin had any interest in running in the general election. He did not, and has been fully supportive, which I'm very appreciative of. But Kevin was the only one of the 3 candidates that had any elected experience, being a city council member and a mayor up in Rock Valley. I might not have elected office experience, but I do have a resume, and I think a track record of accomplishments over the last several years. I think that should matter. I think some of that will translate into being a decent legislator. Secondly, I know, and I've learned a lot more about Sioux County in the last 6 months, but I know Sioux County. Just being around for a long time isn't a reason enough to vote for somebody, but I think it should be necessary to kind of at least not only know the place, but for the place to get to know you, to establish some relationships. And then finally, I think that I would have an approach to governing that makes some sense, that will hopefully make a difference and not just make a point. Governing, in my estimation, as much as I'd love the rest of Iowa to operate much like Sioux County does, the rest of Iowa is not Sioux County. Governing, in my estimation, involves seeking common ground. I'll work as hard as I can to get what I can and all I can for Sioux County constituents, but there'll be other representatives obviously doing that as well. And so if I can't get 100%, if I can't get the whole loaf, so to speak, I'm more than willing to take half a loaf if that moves us in the right direction. Just demanding everything, and I suspect ends up meaning you get nothing. And so I would try to govern and approach things that way. At the end of the day, it really seems like this race is shaping up as one between locals and outsiders. I have nothing against my opponent. Skylar was a very recent student of mine at Northwestern. I had him in several classes. He's a good egg. But the fact of the matter is, those that have supported him, by and large, particularly the various organizations and individuals, don't reside anywhere near House District 4. All of my support, various endorsements, people that signed my nominating papers, people that have gone public in their support in the general election, I can now count, well, on the neighborhood of about 24 that are current or recent elected officials at the municipal, county, or even state level. Wheeler has one, and that's the current rep, John Quaker. So thank you for your time. I appreciate the opportunity to at least just introduce myself. I'll actually these are hot off the press, so I might as well pass a few out. So I'll tell you just a little bit more about me and some of the folks that have chosen to stand behind me.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Rick. So yeah, if there are any questions, I'm more than happy to entertain those, but I realize you've got an agenda and business to get to.
Anything from council at this point? No. Okay, thank you. Appreciate your attendance tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for your good work. So
We hope there's great communication with our community.
that would be critically important in a federated system where we've got all these multiple levels of government over the same people. The different, you know, whether it's municipal, county, state, they need to work together.
Very
Yeah.
good. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, Rick.
Anyone else from open business from the community at this point? If not, we'll move on to the mayor's report. Our congratulations to the West Sioux King Isaac and Queen Lucero and all the West Sioux royalty members for being selected to represent the West Sioux schools. Homecoming festivities are always fun for the students in our community. With the continued nice weather, I'd encourage everyone to spend some time with their family members at our local parks or on the walking trails. The parks and the trails offer great opportunity for families to be together. And lastly, there are many activities that are taking place at our local school, West Sioux. I'd encourage you to attend as many as you can to show your support and encouragement to our young people. Is there anything from council comments this evening? Hearing none, we'll move to staff reports. We'll start with Tom, please.
I have a few things. Citywide cleanup is this coming weekend, September 30 and October 1 and 2. The electric lighting project on Highway 10, I'm sure you've all seen the lights are down, and the guys have been busy out there boring, and it's moving along quite nicely. The electric crew is continuing to do hookups of the new underground service in the north end of town, and they'll be knocking on your door if they haven't been there yet. We did talk to Missouri River Energy Services transmission engineer this week, and he's setting up a meeting with NIPCO on these planned outages, and they're trying to work on some alternate plans to minimize those. So we should have an update at the next council meeting, hopefully. That's all I have.
Tom, on the street project, will they install the poles and the lights on the north side before they take out the lighting on the south side?
They will be. They'll be lit before the ones are taken out on the south
Still some light
side.
out on that street.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Gary?
I only have one item. Just wanted to let everyone know that we did receive a letter from ISO. I know Payne spent a lot of time working with them, as well as Chief Strong and Tom, Al Mace, and others. And they did come in here and do a public protection classification survey, and they have lowered our public protection classification to a 4. Which is a very good news for those that are buying insurance, because it probably will have an impact on the insurance rates for especially on the commercial side, and probably even homeowners to some degree. So just want to thank everybody for the time that they put into working with them, and it was very successful.
So those business owners, they need to get back to their insurance company and let them know that that rating's been lowered? Or
No,
that's just automatic?
yeah, they'll know. So
Thanks. Any questions for staff from council? We'll move on then to other agenda items. Hospital update, Jason.
Hello. Obviously, it's getting a little colder out there, and our project is trying to wrap up as fast as we can. We were pouring concrete yesterday. We plan to pour concrete again tomorrow and then Friday. So that's basically some of the circle drive for the emergency room is being done. They are starting to put the handrails up and the bumper guards on the walls, so it's really starting to look like things are coming together. They're going to be doing the flooring in the emergency room next week, and then in middle of October, the radiology equipment shows up and gets installed, and the operating boom gets installed. And so things are ratcheting closer and closer to the time that we're going to open up for business in that new piece. And once we open up and move people there, then we will shut down most of the remainder of the organization and remodel some of that also. So still a lot of work to do, but the end of getting into the new facility is starting to get closer and closer, so it's really nice to see. And I know my staff will be really happy to get into it, so, because right now they're kind of crunched into a small space. So, any questions?
It's all going well. Nice getting the concrete rolling. So.
Yeah, they're just on the final. They'll be done this week. There's that corner that hasn't been the corner that hasn't been completely finished, and so we've had to take some time and remove the 1936 building, and so they're almost done removing the corner piece of that 1936 building. Then they'll finish the exterior and connect the two organizations together. So that'll be happening in the next month and a half. So.
Good. Great. Questions for Jason? Thanks again for being with us. Give him an update.
No problem.
Thanks again.
And then if anybody would like a tour, they can sure stop by, and I'll give tours to anybody that would like to. So if they want to see what's going on the inside, because it's quite interesting.
Bet it is. It's exciting.
You bet.
Thanks again. Next agenda item is the Sioux County Conservation presentation for the Future Educational Center at Oak Grove. Thank you for being with us tonight. Carrie and I were talking this afternoon how the South Pit project has just evolved over the last number of years since we started that, and how nice that is, and how well the conservation group has taken that and run with it and made enhancements. So
Good.
appreciate that
We
very
were out
much
there
Sunday.
today. We had West Sioux Middle School and High School doing canoeing and kayaking today. And so this is one reason that we're here. I wanted to introduce a new person to you. This is Sarah Davalar, and so now there's two naturalists for Sioux County Conservation. So we worked together today, pulling boats in and out, loading, unloading, and then we ended up with Orange City Christian. The entire school came out. We had 7 school buses, 340 kids.
Wow.
So we're conquering with 2 now. But it has to, this has to do with our Nature Center project. Some of you I've talked to, or our group has talked to individually, group being the Sioux County Conservation Foundation. This is the first project of that foundation. And but we have updates, and some of you we haven't sat down with. So as a group, our intentions today was to update you on where we are. I'm Sunday Ford, and I brought with me today also Gordon Potabaum. And so we'll let Gordon speak. Sarah's going to hand these out. Some of you have seen them before, but if you just take one for reference. Travis, you may have seen these before. No.
A few times.
Good. Thanks, sir.
Okay, some of you may have been at some of the informational meetings we held roughly a year ago, where at that time, we gave a presentation, and that was probably about a 40-minute presentation, but we'll trim that down considerably today. I just want to clarify, some of you probably know that I'm chairman of the Conservation Board, but this presentation comes from the Sioux County Conservation Foundation. The foundation is a separate entity. It's not connected to the county. It's a 501c entity, and its first project is looking at the possibility of a nature center in the county. Looking at a nature center to provide education in the county, provide conservation, and provide recreation to the people in the county. Our environmental ed program is a little over 20 years old. Sunday has led that program for the last 18, 19 years. And we've grown to the point where we cannot accommodate the number of people that want to participate. In the last 1 to 2 years, she turns away about as many kids as she takes for a program, turns away about 50% of those that want to attend. Parents call us and say we can't get our kids in. Every time we call, the programs are full. And the quality of programs continues to grow. So we really didn't have the personnel, even with a lot of volunteers. Now with the addition of Sarah, that's going to help on that side. But we really also do not have facility. Currently, programs are run out of the lodge at Oak Grove. It's really not suited for that. It doesn't have adequate restroom facilities. If you've got 30, 60-year-olds in there and they all need to use the bathroom and wash their hands, you lose a lot of time just doing that. And all the materials for the programs have to be hauled in from somewhere else in the park, taken back out. So it's really not suitable for that. If you look on page 8 of your casebook, you'll see an insert there, and that's the site that was selected. It's at Oak Grove Park. It's just east of Deer Run Campground. We looked at a lot of areas in the county, but this was really the only area that furnished what we really need for those programs. It's the only area that has the landscape and the history and so forth. And this will provide access to the prairie, to the trees, to the river, the pond, wildlife, all those different things that kids will learn about in the nature center, and then they can go out, and experience that hands-on. It's going to sit facing just southwest, so it'll overlook that valley with the prairie and the trees and the wildlife, and that Sioux County cornfield in the back. So it's really a good fit. Sunday's going to talk to you a little bit about who this will provide service for, and somewhat about what the nature center itself will provide.
Okay, so what comes to my mind right away is this time of year we have a lot of nursing homes, retirement homes that want to come out for picnics. The facility we currently have doesn't have adequate restrooms, first of all. Also, getting in and out of the building is tough for those groups. What we're hoping with the nature center is on the main floor of our plan we have a meeting room, which would be where we would have those people do their picnic, their program with me. Huge, beautiful windows. They can observe the wildlife. They can see the prairie. We would have our screen, our system set up so I could do my slideshow with them, and exhibits on that main floor so they can enjoy themselves there. If I have a nursing home group and Sarah has a field trip at the same time, we have the classroom in the basement that would house the students. So our possibilities of reaching out to people would be wonderful there. Field trips. So our 340 kids today from Orange City Christian, they could have easily gone somewhere else. In fact, they usually do Dunlop or the walking trail, not Dunlop, the walking puddle jumper, thank you, over at Orange City. They thought they'd try us this year. Everything worked out great, but the restrooms weren't to everyone's liking as far as, getting people through. The number of stalls and everything for that many kids was tough. And also, if we had a bit of rain, if it was windy, if it was cold, we have no shelter for that number of children. So this type of facility would allow us to say, yes, let's have you out here and let's have you keep coming back. A lot of our county field trips go to Dorothy Pico in Sioux City, which is a wonderful nature center. They go to all the way down to Sutherland, to O'Brien County's nature center. Wonderful nature center. But they're limited on other field trips they can do because they put a lot of their money into that. And so they don't have these other choices. Why don't we have happening right here in Sioux County. We have this wonderful park. We've got the staff. If we have this building, we're going to draw them over. South Dakota as well. So tomorrow we have Alcester Hudson coming our way. So South Dakota is, interested in our programming. We just need these facilities so the two of us could do this at the same time, get more kids out here. So those are the main groups we reach. I think, our big events would be helpful to have this for those as well. Outdoor Skills Day for kids happens in June. We end up with about 250 kids out for that. Again, weather dependent if we can hold it or not, because there's no facility for them. So those types of things as well. Should I go into the map, you think? Is it okay if I go through this part? Okay. I want to go through the floor plan with you since I'm kind of sitting on that right now. Page 10 and 11, and there's an insert because we updated it. So the insert is what you need to look at. That's the update. So you have an idea what we're thinking. If you come in on the main level, you come in the front doors to the vestibule, there's 2 entrances. So we can have our teachers bring the children in and get them situated with their adult groups before they come into the nature center. If it's somebody that's walking up from the campground, which is in walking distance, I like that. Grandma and Grandpa bring the grandkids up to see the nature center. They can go straight into the lobby. Those exhibits there, that exhibit floor, we've been working with Split Rock Studios, and they have an excellent design for us, and we're just, polishing things, trying to figure out exactly, what we want. But some of the things in here are things that we've worked with Sioux County teachers on. Ideas of what they would like the nature center to show that they can't easily show in the classroom. And a lot of our Sioux County teachers right now are updating to the National Science Standards, which has recently changed. And so a couple of the teachers have written and given us what they have to meet for science standards at a basic general idea. So with the exhibit designers, we're trying to meet those needs. So the teachers will come to these exhibits and be able to teach their children about that. The meeting room I told you about, we'll have our offices in there as well. That back deck will overlook the prairie. We'd like people to sit and stay a while and enjoy the view. We see turkeys, deer, hawks, all sorts of wildlife out that way. Okay, and then if you flip it over to the lower level, that classroom has a folding wall. So in the summer is where we really turn a lot of children away. And if those kids want to spend their summer outdoors with us, we want them to spend their summer outdoors with us. And so if Sarah has one half of that classroom, we have our wall up, and I have the other half, we have 2 summer camps running at the same time. And so we've designed it, we had our architect design it so that we both have access to all those restrooms. And we have access to that back patio too. Right out that door, down the hill, is our pond, it's our prairie, it's our troll bridge. We call it the troll bridge. We can get down to the river, we can get, Big Rock, Little Rock, everything is right there from that center.
So just quickly explain, you got the insert. The insert's there because we made a couple changes. The original plan on the main level, the offices were, we thought, fairly small. So basically, we made some changes with the offices and rearranged rooms a little bit. And then on the lower level, the change we made, there was a public restroom there, which we kind of decided really was kind of an expense that we didn't need. So we eliminated that and expanded the restroom for the classroom to use. So that was the change there. And then some of the potential donors questioned what we were going to do 10 years from now when we outgrow this facility. The architect took a look at that and decided that some of that storage space could very easily be turned into classroom space. And then we would just have to either expand the building for storage or something else at that time. When we held those meetings roughly a year ago, we had hired the Renaissance Group, a firm out of Des Moines, to conduct a feasibility study for us. At the end of that feasibility study, a strong 90% of the people that participated agreed that there was definitely a need for the Nature Center, that we should go ahead with it, and they were willing to help support it. So with that advice, we did move forward. We hired Cannon and Moss firm out of Sioux City as the architect. They've done a lot of work in Sioux County. Seemed like the firm that really could do the Nature Center justice. You know, they really understood what we were looking for. On page 12, just quickly, we'll show you the budget there. That budget has changed a little. That total budget of 5.3 is now down to 4.8 million. One of the biggest changes is the 1.4 million that was in there for exhibit design estimate is now down to around 800,000. And the exhibits that Sunday talked about, we're pretty much assured that we're going to get what we want for 800,000. So that budget has changed a little bit. We're running a capital campaign. We're kind of in the process of that now. So we're looking at capital campaign money, some grant money, some county input, and so forth, you know, to fund this project. The scale of giving on the other page was put in there just kind of as a reference, so really doesn't pertain a whole lot anymore to the project. And then the inside of the back page basically just shows County Conservation Board members, Foundation Board members, and then our consultation team. We hired Agency 212 out of Sioux Center to do this casebook for us, and then the Cannon and Moss firm is the architect under Terry Glade, and then the Renaissance Group. And then the other column basically shows our staff at Oak Grove. So hopefully that gives you a little information on what's going to happen. If you have any questions, we'd be glad to answer them. But one thing I did not mention was our timeline. Like I said, we're in the middle of our capital campaign right now. We're hoping that early 2017 we'll be taking bids, and spring of 2017 we want to start construction. But realistically, we're not going to pull the trigger until we can see that we can fund it. But the way things are going, hopefully that's going to work good for us.
Questions for Sunday or Gordon or Sarah at this point? It's an exciting project.
For your time.
But we appreciate your presentation this evening. Thank you very much.
If anybody would not like their books, we'll take them back and reuse them.
You can have it. I did write in it, but just crossed out the.
Good, thank you, Sunday.
Just take yours.
Our next agenda item deals with the bond purchase agreement for the sale of bonds thereunder. We have with us this evening Scott Stevenson from D.A. Davidson in Des Moines. Scott, thank you so much for coming up and being with us this evening.
You bet. Happy to be here. So tonight on your agenda, you've got a resolution approving a bond purchase agreement. A bond purchase agreement is kind of what it sounds like. It's a purchase contract where the city is agreeing to sell bonds to us as the underwriter of the transaction. So what it does is it effectively locks in the interest rates, the amount, the amortization schedule, et cetera, of the transaction. So this sort of binds the deal between the city and us as underwriter, and kind of gives you some clarity and some certainty as to exactly what you're getting in terms of interest rates, and thereby what you're saving through the refinancing transaction, since that's sort of the purpose of the deal. So wanted to give you sort of an overview of what the economics are of the transaction, just so that you've got a flavor for what you're getting out of the deal. The savings benefit to the city through their electric utility provided a net benefit, and when I say net, there's costs associated, not just with us, but with other parties in terms of putting together the refinancing package, just like if you refinanced your home. So we're able to analyze net of those costs, provided cash flow savings to the city over the remaining 15 years of the 2011 bonds being refinanced of $147,000. So that comes in increments annually, as you can imagine, amounts to about $10,000 per year, given that there's 15 years, $147,000 of total savings. So you'll recognize that benefit beginning after fiscal year 2018. So at that point going forward, you'll have a payment approximately $10,000 per year lower than you would have had otherwise if you had not moved forward with the refinancing transaction. So you're going from an average interest rate of 3.61% down to about 2.3%. So just give you an idea of where that savings comes from. It's pretty straightforward interest cost savings, lowering the interest cost of your existing debt down to what today's current interest rates provide. Going forward, you'll have resolution on your maybe October 12th, I believe, meeting date to approve issuance. And really what that does is it's a legal document ratifying and confirming what you essentially agreed to in the bond purchase agreement. That will put us on track to close the deal on October 27th. What questions would you folks have?
So that interest rate is firm now? You're
Correct.
saying that
Yep.
we're going to get that 2 point whatever?
Yep.
Yeah.
And we did have good participation from the local banks too. I think that's something that oftentimes small communities want to see, is we're able to allow for reinvestment by local community banks, and that did occur here, so that's also a nice positive I thought I'd pass along as well.
Any questions in regards to this for Scott? Okay.
Thank you, folks.
for your
Appreciate the
presentation.
opportunity.
Thank you. With agenda item number 5 is a resolution 2016-21 approving the bond purchase agreement for the sale of bonds thereunder. Is there a motion for the resolution 2016-21?
So moved.
Moved by Travis. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Tim. Further questions?
We just got this information this morning.
I got it last night about,
I'm just saying, I think it's a little rushed.
but
It's a
Time-
good plan, but the implementation has really been less than stellar.
yeah, timing's, and maybe you can address that, Scott.
So, unfortunately, this is sort of the nature of the business that we work in, is it kind of does tend to run down to the last minute, which is not typically how city government works and operates, and we certainly understand that. But the reason being, when we go out and market the bonds to investors, we offer proposed interest rates, and we try to get interest in those bonds at proposed interest rates. Unfortunately, when an investor says we'll buy the bonds at that price, they want a confirmation that that transaction will occur in a relatively short period of time, because markets move. They may have said, I'll take that, and then market changes the next day. They no longer are as interested in the transaction as they may have been the prior day, and if they can get out of it, then perhaps they would. So it kind of leaves us in this weird limbo situation. So what that means is what we try to do is compress the time period between when we offer the bonds and when we can effectively lock in the transaction to provide that investor some comfort that, yes, they are in fact getting exactly what we said they're going to get. So that means we'll really offer the bonds in the days, if not hours, leading up to council meetings oftentimes, and not have a final analysis that can be put into a legal document, which is what you got from John Danos late last night, until at times the 11th hour. So that's the reason behind it.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions or clarifications? It's been a motion and a second. Call for a roll call vote, please, for resolution 2016-21.
Harvey?
No.
Kurth?
Yes.
Olson?
Aye.
Allen?
Aye.
Feldhecker?
Aye.
On a 4-to-1 roll call vote, resolution 2016-21 passes.
See
Last agenda item this evening is a consent agenda, request from the Hawarden Golf Course for liquor license transfer of October the 1st, and a liquor license transfer from Sportsman's for October 8th. Is there a motion for that?
So moved.
Moved by Tim, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Travis. All in favor of the consent agenda, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Our next regular stated meeting then will become on October the 12th, Wednesday, the October the 12th at 5:30. This time I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Payne, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Travis. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none opposed, City Council is now adjourned. Thank you very much.